getting rid of my notifications before the video starts. I'm not going to open that though. That's my shame badge. Alright, this one's going to be a quick one. New iPads were announced about a week ago, and I think I just want to share my opinions on them, starting from most important to least important in terms of a consumer's point of view. In that sense, it goes iPad, iPad Air, iPad Pro. In terms of coolness, iPad Pro wins hands down, then Air, then this one. Now, let's actually start with the base iPad because it got the least amount of changes. It got one change, the price. It's now cheaper. But, I mean, okay, let's do it for this video. It's coming out of the case. This happens once a year, so you're welcome, guys. Behold, the iPad, except this one has a laminated display and it works with the Apple Pencil Gen 2. So it's pretty much just a better base model iPad. Now, what I find absolutely hilarious about this iPad is Apple is pitching it as for students, and you know, it can work for students, but at the same time, they got on stage and said, hey, the new iPad Air, the M2 chip is like a bazillion times faster than the 2020 iPad.
And compared to iPad Air with A14 Bionic, the new Air provides up to an enormous 3 times faster performance.
You know, that dog shit ass A14 chip. And then they turn around and they're like, hey, go buy this thing, this very capable device that has the same chip. I don't know. It's just funny. Like, Apple loves throwing the iPad Air under the bus, but in this case, they've shot themselves in the foot. I think this iPad is perfectly serviceable for people who just want to watch YouTube or Netflix, maybe do some light note taking. If you want to do any video editing, you can. If you're doing like casual stuff, maybe 4K is really pushing it. Okay, they've got freeform here. You can't do this. You try and put too much into freeform, it'll chug. I have had to move back to GoodNotes for that reason. What else? iPadOS. You're getting a cut down version of iPadOS, but it's good enough. It's the all reliable is what I'm gonna say. It gets most of the same stuff. It plays most of the same games. If you're interested in Wuthering Waves, it'll play that for sure. It's just those big console ports that you won't be getting. Yeah, this is the shittest Apple Pencil. If you're considering buying this, just go buy any of the other cheap ones. In my opinion, what made the Apple Pencil special was pressure sensitivity. That's the one thing it had over all the third-party ones, and this one doesn't have that. And even the Zag, they've literally copied the Zag stylus with the pull-out bit, and even like the other end of the Zag stylus could be used as a finger. So this is just inferior in every way. Don't buy it. Buy a third-party one off Amazon. There, I said it. There's really not much to say. It's the same iPad. Center stage is great. I think for the price, it's decent, but you can find them for cheaper elsewhere, or you can just get a used 2020 iPad Air and get some extra features. One thing I will say is that this iPad comes in the best colors. The only thing it's missing is a darker green. Like the iPad Air had this pale green, but I think a darker green would be really nice. Maybe a spring update. Whenever they release the new color iPhone, they could maybe give us some more colors. But yeah, this iPad has the best colors, which brings us to the iPad Air, which has the worst colors. They don't even get like silver and jet black. They get fucking washed out blue, barely violet, beige, and it's not even black. It's space gray. What are they calling it? Okay, they at least got that right. It's space gray. Apple likes to change what they call it. Space gray is iconic. Just call it space gray. Okay, that's enough about ranting about colors, because this is actually a pretty good iPad. I actually like what they did with the M2 iPad, unlike a lot of people. I think giving it all of the new features was smart, like the new pencil support. But I think the 2 screen sizes is good. Everyone kind of saw that coming after the MacBook Air. I think it was good to put the M2 in it instead of keeping it on M1, just to say that it's a newer generation processor. Yeah, it gets all the features of iPadOS. The iPad Air M2, and I guess technically the M1 before it, are the cheapest way to get all of the M series features without going for the Pro. And I like that there's that option. Everyone says that the iPad Air doesn't have a place in the lineup, but I think this is the best iPad for students. because it is fast enough for a student's workload, no matter what they're doing or how heavy or how many slides they have. I think that's really the gist of it. This is like the iPad student. If you can get a student discount as well, it becomes even better value. Yeah, it still gets the shitty old Magic keyboard, but I could never fathom spending this much money on a keyboard when you can just get this, I'll put it up on screen, from Amazon for like a third of the price. It baffles me. I don't care if I have to recharge it. It pairs automatically. You're saving the iPad's battery as well. That's one thing people don't touch on. They're like, oh, it's thicker and you have to connect it with Bluetooth. But when you're using a keyboard with a Bluetooth and a battery, then you're actually using less power from the iPad and it'll last longer, especially with backlights on. Especially with this, I notice if you have the backlight on, it'll drain a lot faster. And I'm sure that's the same on the Magic keyboards because Apple is not defying physics. It still needs to be powered. The biggest thing about the iPad Air is the price, because the iPad Pro's price got jacked all the way up to here, but the iPad Pro stayed, and they actually bumped the storage. The base storage is 128 gigs now. 64 really wasn't enough. Starting at 128 is huge, and especially now that the 12.9-inch iPad Air comes in at the same price as the previous Pro. Yeah, I think this is good for students. I think if you're a student, you should either get a iPad Air M2 or a M2 refurbished iPad Pro for a similar price. Honestly, I think the M2 refurbished Pro would be the much better option because you get much better hardware. But at the same time, Apple doesn't always have it on the refurb store, or you might want to have a brand new Apple product. Now, that brings us on to the Pro. The Pro is very cool. Watching the keynote, everyone watching, they're like, oh, this is cool. This is thin, the OLED screen. It has all these amazing new features. Everyone chucked a hissy fit over the new Crush ad for a hot minute and then seemingly got over it because it wasn't actually a big deal. They got rid of the ultra wide, which is fine. They're still using the dog shit wide from, I'm guessing, the iPhone 11. So don't actually use it to film. That's why they've got the whole new multi-cam support with the iPhones. Cool colors. I'm torn between black and silver. I think the silver looks better when it's in the keyboard case, but the black looks better on its own. I wish we had actual colors, but I guess it's a Pro device. That's how Apple goes. Yeah, it's an absolute monster. The screen is insane. You get 120 hertz. You get the M4 chip. This is probably the biggest reason to get the new iPad. Future-proofing. This thing is going to last borderline forever, as will all the other iPads with an M series chip. But this one especially, it seems like they're able to get some pretty significant gains out of it while keeping the battery life the same. Yeah, I think this iPad is really cool, but I think it's only for actual professionals like digital artists who actually make enough money to live off from their iPad, or video editors who actually make enough money to justify getting a dedicated video editing device with a ultra retina XDR display. I find that hilarious. The only reason Tandem OLED isn't called Ultra Fusion OLED is because it was already called Tandem by the industry. Otherwise, I can guarantee they would have come up with some goofy ass name for it. But yeah, my main issue with it is it just costs way too much. Like if you go for even a base model 12.9 here in Australia, 2200. The new Apple Pencil Pro. Yeah, like we're already at a lot. Actually, let's talk about accessories now, because I think that sums up my thoughts on the Pro. Very cool, but very expensive and not worth it for most. The new Apple Pencil Pro. I think this is very cool. I think it's very cool. I like what they've done. I think it would have been cool if they could have kept the double tap functionality, but hey, the barrel seems to be more versatile and more reliable. I really like the haptic feedback. I always thought, put haptics in the iPad or at least the Pencil. And it seems like they've done that. I still want haptics in the iPad. It's on the wish list. Do it, Apple. Do it, cowards. I want it to shake when there's explosions in my games. This isn't the feature page. Hold on, let me find the feature page. All right, here we are. Okay, my main issue with this Pencil is it costs the same price as the previous gen Apple Pencil 2, while the Apple Pencil 2's got the same price. So do you want to get the new shiny one or the old one for the same price? I think this one should have dropped. This one should have dropped a long time ago, but it should have dropped especially now. Yeah, the hover from the last gen is very cool, and then added with the roll. I think this is what they were building up to, but they didn't want to release it all at the same time because Apple feature locking, Yeah, Yeah, I'm not a digital artist, so I can't really say much about it. I've dabbled in Procreate, but I mostly just use it to make my YouTube thumbnails. Yeah, I think it should have been supported on more iPads. I think they could have found a way if they really wanted to. One other problem I have with the Apple Pencil Pro is the naming. Why is it the Apple Pencil Pro if it works with the iPad Air M2? They've also just made it even more convoluted because it will eventually work with the base iPad in 10 years, probably, knowing how Apple goes with trickling down features. But yeah, calling it the Apple Pencil Pro makes zero sense. It should have been called the Apple Pencil Gen 3. I think that naming is going to come back to bite them in the ass later when someone walks into the Apple store and goes, hey, I've got an iPad Air, so I'm just going to buy the Apple Pencil. And then they get the Gen 2 because, you know, it's not the Pro. You'd assume Pro goes with Pro. And just headaches. Next up is the Magic Keyboard. You can kind of guess my opinions on the Magic Keyboard based on what I said about the one for the iPad Air. And I have the same issue with this one as the Pencil. I like that it's metal. I think the trackpad being haptic doesn't matter. As long as you have a click anywhere, you're going to have a similar experience. It'll feel a bit nicer. Is it really going to be worth the extra battery life? I'm guessing it drains. There's no way it comes free. I like that we've got a function row now, finally. It's still... This is what I mean by the iPad Air gets shafted every time. The base iPad and the iPad Pro have keyboards with function rows, but the Magic Keyboard for the iPad Air doesn't have a function row. It's like, why do you hate us so much? Okay, existential crisis over. I think the colors are cool. I prefer the silver one. I'm in a light phase right now. Maybe I'll like black in another year or two. I'll go back to liking those ones. I think this is smart. They've rebalanced it so you can get a better, you can fit more space essentially. I hope it doesn't mean it'll topple over easier. But yeah, cool. Keyboards. When you can go on Amazon and get the same thing for way cheaper. I'm sorry, I just don't see the value here. Let's go to the shop section. Look at this insane pricing for keyboards. Magic Keyboard for iPad Pro. The price of a base iPad. Like, are you serious? Magic Keyboard Folio. Almost the price of an iPad. You're almost doubling the price for a keyboard. It's absurd. Go buy a Logitech one or some fucking cheap ass one. It'll do the same job and it'll do it good enough. Or better. It might actually offer protection all the way around the iPad. We'll come back to this shit in another video. I'm not a fan of this Logitech. But yeah, I guess as these videos go, I should include a buying guide. Buy the iPad 10th gen if you only want to watch YouTube and play some games on it, maybe read some ebooks. If you want to save even more money, go for a discounted Gen 9 iPad. The iPad Air M2, arguably the best upgrade. It's gotten the new M2, it's gotten the new Apple Pencil Pro support. It's going to last forever. It's going to be great for students. It comes in way cheaper than the new Pros. I would say go for this. Even if you're a high school student, just get this because the amount of time you're going to keep it, you're going to end up using it in college or uni or TAFE or whatever you do in your country. The iPad Pro, exclusively for professionals. Only buy if you're going to use it to make the money back on it. That is my opinion. Or you're just very rich and you don't like having money in your pocket. Like, I don't know. If your Titanium 15 Pro Max 512 gig isn't big enough to watch Instagram Reels on, get this and then use the shit ass unsupported Instagram app. Alternatively, just get the last generation version of any of these, especially the M2 and M1 iPad Pro and the M1 iPad Air if you want to save money. So, okay. If you don't want to lose M series features, just get a refurbished Air or a refurbished Pro because they will still hold up and you'll still get proper external monitor support and Stage Manager with 1 trillion apps, and you'll be able to play the new Diablo, and you'll get Final Cut, and you'll get whatever other pro apps Apple decides to water down and port to your iPad. Okay, I hope this video was useful for someone. I kind of ranted and rambled a lot, but that's just my opinions, you know? If you have an iPad that's working fine, keep it. Really keep it, unless WWDC this year, they do something crazy. But realistically, they're going to just roll up some new M1 exclusive features that do barely anything and cut support for a few iPads because why not? Probably RAM. 4 gigs of RAM on this iPad wasn't enough. Even my phone comes with 6 gigs. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye. I don't know how to end the video. Oh God, I went for 20 minutes. This is meant to be a 6-minute video.